I'm Jennifer Meyer, and we're recorded. So I'm a 40K leader here, and I'm just going to go ahead and claim it now that I'm reclaiming my 40K. It didn't happen this month, but I know it's coming, so I'm pretty stoked about that. So we're not where we want to be right now. That just means that we've got breakthrough coming. So I'm stoked about reclaiming my 40K. I wanted to come on tonight and talk to y'all about the comparison game. I know we all tend to do it, and if surely I'm not the only one, but I wanted to bring my daughter on as well. And I tried to get a couple of my other girls to come on, but they just weren't quite ready to speak to all of y'all. They feel like they're not prepared yet, so it's okay. We're all growing, and so that's what I love about this. So yeah, so I have Mia with me to kind of talk a little bit about how she's dealt with comparison and how she's overcome it. And so that's what I wanted to kind of share a little bit of my testimony with y'all. And I've been listening to sermons about how it does not honor God. I'm trying to think of the right words to use. But how it does not honor God whenever we do compare ourselves to Susie down the street or our upline or our side sisters or just anybody in general. Just the way comparison can just kind of kill any kind of gratefulness or whatnot. I read a quote where it talked about it said comparison drives you to see only what you cannot fit into your overflowing cup. And so if you think about that, as long as we're, and I'm not going to try to be too Jesus-y on y'all, but that's just kind of where I come from. But if we're spending time in the Word or with God, or just with our self-help, podcast, just trying to work on ourselves, if we're filling our cup up, we're going to have a full cup. But if we're always looking at somebody else and what they have in front of them, then we're not going to realize how much we have to be thankful for. So I just kind of wanted to talk about how it starts early on. I know that I can remember comparing myself to my sisters whenever I was younger. I grew up, my parents divorced whenever I was only a year old. And so they both got remarried, but my dad got remarried first, and his wife wasn't the sweetest thing to me in the whole wide world. But she had two daughters. They ended up having two daughters together. And so I lived with them probably for about four years, probably some of my most influential years, I suppose. It was from sixth grade to like ninth grade. And my dad was always really busy working, and he's not one that knows how to show affection or encouragement, that kind of thing. It was just kind of weird to him. And so I was always reaching and wanting and desiring more of a relationship with this man, because I loved him. He was my dad. But I would see him with my stepmom and my sisters, and I just kind of reflecting back on how comparison all started in my life. It was literally at that point because I knew that I was different than my sisters. I knew that their mom was always advocating for them to have time with my dad, but there was never any kind of advocation for me, I guess. And so there was kind of jealousy there if he did get to spend a little bit of time with me. But all glory to God, I actually got to take him to Vegas last month. And so that was pretty dang awesome. That was the most time we've ever spent with each other by ourselves. So it was pretty exciting. But I always desired more of a relationship with him. So I would always compare what my sisters had with him compared to what I had. And so I was never able, whenever I look back on it now, I was never able to really just be super thankful for what relationship I did have and how it was different. Then as I got older and started making pretty crappy decisions, I am a recovered addict and alcoholic. And so there was a long period of my time where I would always compare myself to people that maybe I went to school with, and how my background and my story was probably a little bit more I don't even know what word I would use whenever I would think about how to compare, whenever I look at, Sherry that I graduated with, any trouble with the law. She never got addicted to drugs. Yeah, she drank, but she could always drink with it. There we go. So he mentioned to me that whenever he starts comparing himself to somebody else, let's say like a man who's got a really good job and a really good provider for their family, he starts thinking about all the past bad decisions that he made and how he could have been so much further ahead by now if he would have made better decisions. And so all these feelings that comparison can cause us to feel is not of God. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that out there. God gave us our own stories and our own journey. That way we don't have to try to be like everybody else. Thank God. But then once I started getting into this business, I'm kind of hopping around, but once I started getting into this business, I noticed the comparison game starting all over again. First off, I started with zero experience. I didn't have a clue what network marketing was. I'm older, so I feel like that kind of made me feel obviously out of my comfort zone or out of my league in a way, I suppose, because here I am. I started whenever I was 43. And I see a bunch of these little young whippersnappers doing their thing. And, you've got these really pretty girls that are super smart whenever it comes to social media and everything looks perfect and pretty. And so my age kind of set me back a little bit, and not my age setting me back, but my thoughts about my age set me back a little bit, I feel like. And then not having any experience in this field was a little bit of a setback in my mind as well, because I thought, I'm not going to be able to do it because I've never done it before, which I don't know why I would think that way, because I've started new jobs before and I've excelled at pretty much every job I've had. It's just learning what you're doing and then putting it into action, learning what to do. So we all started somewhere, and I started at ground zero. So zero experience. This is my first company, but I freaking love it. And I wouldn't change it for anything. I think Sarah said that she's a lifer. I'm a Thrive lifer. So I could never even imagine myself not doing this. But I think and what's funny, whenever I compare Thrive to, or Lavelle, or even just our team to corporate America, because I was doing Thrive probably for about 8 or 9 months, and then I was able to quit my corporate job. Meaning that all these little things that I was comparing myself to everybody else with didn't matter, obviously, because my business is going well. Uh-oh. Okay. So the business was growing. It was doing really well. So a lot of the fears that I had, where I thought I was going to be too different or too old, or I know a lot of us come in with a really low self-esteem, and that's the way I was as well. I came in because I was overweight. That's why I even started. I was overweight, and I've never really had a really high self-esteem to begin with. And so I don't know. And then okay, so from corporate America to our team and how our team preaches on self-development, I feel like that's kind of where this shifting kind of took place in my thoughts, and how it's better. I even have it written up on my board, be happy whenever I see somebody else succeed, because God loves to bless all of his children. Just because I'm not in a spot where I want to be yet, but so-and-so is, it doesn't mean that I have to compare myself to them. We all have our own stories. We have our own rate of run. We have our we have our own race to run, to be honest. God gives us all our own race, and we can't just run somebody else's race. I can't go run Courtney's race. She can't go run Mia's race. We all are having to run our own race. So don't get caught up in trying to run somebody else's, because we're not going to be able to keep up. It's impossible. We're not built to run somebody else's race. Let's see. I wrote down some things, and I'm sorry if I'm everywhere. So whenever I did shift the thoughts from being just really comparative and down on myself because I wasn't as good enough or cute enough or experienced enough as so-and-so next to me, I had to change my perspective and allow that comparison to create inspiration rather than resentment or envy. And so I feel like it's really good if comparison can be a positive thing, but there's a really fine line to where it can turn negative, I feel like. My brain, sorry. So instead of letting that create just these bad feelings, because I don't like feeling resentment. First off, that's what I learned caused me to drink and do too many drugs, as a bunch of resentments. So I don't need any of that here. Jealousy doesn't feel good. Envy does not feel good. And I know y'all got to understand what I'm talking about. So let's see. Comparison can create either a feeling of being inferior, or a feeling of being superior. So there's two different ways that comparison can drive you to think whether you're not good enough, or whether you're better than that person you're comparing yourself to. And so what I read is, or even what I was listening to, is like neither one of those feelings are honoring God. So we don't want to think that we're better than somebody else. We don't want to think that we're not as good as, because God created us with our own gifts and our own unique abilities. Another quote that I wrote down was where comparing begins, contentment ends. Got it. Okay. So where comparing begins, contentment ends. We could be hunky-dory and happy with the way things are going, and then somebody shows up, in a cuter outfit, or it looks like they have their shit together. It can turn our thoughts from gratitude to just ungratefulness. And so, yeah, there's that. I'm going to let Mia kind of take over for a second. I feel like I'm fixing to start sneezing my head off. So I'm going to let Mia take over for a minute. Mia, go for it.
Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. I hope everyone had a really good Thanksgiving. Thank you, everyone that hopped on here tonight to join us. When my mom asked me to co-host this with her, it was no hesitation. I was like, yes. I know I love getting poured into, so being able to pour into you guys, I just love it. I'm very thankful for it. So, hello, I'm Mia. I'm Jennifer's daughter. Her favorite kid, by the way, got to throw that in there. I am 22 years old. I am happily married, and I am a 12K leader here at Lavelle, which is crazy to me because I never, ever saw myself doing this. I had like this set vision for my life. And basically it's what it looks like now is nothing what I thought it was going to be. I had a plan to go to college. I was playing college volleyball. Had a plan to go into nursing and get married when I was like 25 or 26 and blah, blah, blah. None of that happened. Okay. I played volleyball for like 2 months, and then I'm not even in college anymore. I got married when I was 20. Okay. That just shows that God has something totally different for you. And it's going to turn out even better. So I wanted to throw that out there. So I have been doing this for about A little over 2 years exactly. And I've been doing it right behind my mom, which has been just another huge blessing. If you would have told me, like when I was like a senior in high school, hey, Mia, you and your mom are going to be doing this network marketing thing. Y'all are going to go on trips and meet all these awesome people, I would have been like, you're nuts. That's never, ever going to happen. But here we are. So, something that I wanted to talk about, something that I really wanted to like highlight was a quote that I had seen. And it is the more you focus on what God called you to do, the less distracted you'll be with what everyone else is doing. I'll repeat that because it's really, really good. And I always think about it. The more you focus on what God called you to do, the less distracted you'll be with what everyone else is doing. And when I tell you, when I saw that and it hit me like a ton of bricks, it totally did. And I felt like it tied in perfectly with this comparison thing that we were talking about, because I feel like we all fall victim to that mindset of comparison from the time that we were little to even now. I know I still struggle with it. There's little episodes where I find myself comparing myself to others like crazy. And so I feel like we can all really, really, really relate to what my mom decided to talk about tonight. And I just ask every single one of y'all to have receptive hearts to what we're saying, because I know God put this word on our heart for a reason. So I specifically wanted to talk about an experience that I had within this business that points straight to comparison and points straight to kind of what I go back on now as a leader. So I got to go on a leadership retreat back at the very beginning of this year in January. Courtney had invited me to a leadership retreat in Oklahoma, and it's an experience I will never, ever forget. I think about this almost daily because it has really shaped my business and how I run my business and what I reflect back on. So I'll make, long story short, we got to the leadership retreat and Court, with her giving heart, she was doing a giveaway for like a Louis bag, I believe. So everyone was like, yes, a Louis bag, I want that. So like once you get an enrollment or whatever, you put your name on a little piece of paper, you throw it in a bowl, and then she would draw. Simple as that. And I was like, oh, I'm stoked. Like, I really, really want that Louis bag, and I was getting 0 enrollments and a whole bunch of no's, just to put it that way. It was one of those weekends where you're reaching out to people, you have deals going on, you're trying to motivate your team, and it's just everyone, you're just hearing the word no a lot. And it really got to me that weekend. It really, really, really did. At this point, I was doing the business for almost or a little over a year. So I would say I was still pretty new at this point. I hadn't hit 12K yet. Could barely hold a 4K rank, and I really didn't have a team under me yet. So I feel like I was still a baby at this point. I feel like I still am a baby in this, if I'm going to be completely honest. But at this point, I feel like I really didn't have a good foundation in my business or anything like that. So my mindset was very, very weak. It wasn't bulletproof at this point. So I was just getting 0 enrollments and a whole bunch of no's. And it seemed like everyone else was getting these enrollments, and they were getting to put their name in the bowl, and they were going to have the biggest chance at getting this Louis bag. And everyone else was doing really, really great except me. I felt like the black sheep. Like, man, it just really got me down. And I got very flustered because of this. And my mom, you know how moms are, they just know. It's like they have this mind thing. They just know. And so that's what happened. She could see it all over my face. And I was flustered to the point of tears. I was flustered to the point where I was just ready to just give up, just throw in the towel. I was convinced that, this industry just wasn't for me. I'll find something else to do. At the time I was still in college. I was like, I can figure out something there. I was just ready to give up. But my mom, being the amazing queen that she is, she was like, okay, let's go. Let's just get out of the house. Let's go for a walk. I was like, okay. I was like sobbing. I was so frustrated. Like I could still feel those feelings. Oh, so frustrated. Like when you're mad, but you cry. Like when I'm mad or frustrated, I don't just like huff and puff. I sob like a little baby. And so that's what I was doing. My mom was like, let's go outside. Okay. So we go outside and we go for a walk, and majority of our conversation while we were on that walk consisted of what we were talking about tonight on the Zoom. And that is, how comparison is a killer. And so we talked about that on the walk. It really opened my eyes to how, I don't know, it just opened my eyes a lot. And I would say that my main takeaway from that leadership retreat in Oklahoma was how everyone's journey and timeline with this business is going to look different, and that's okay. I feel like it's so easy to see everyone winning, especially if you're not in this business yet, but you're wanting to be. And so you sign up, and so you're expecting to hit all these goals, smash all these goals because everyone else, your leader did and their leader did. It's really easy to start comparing yourself. And that's where I found myself on the retreat. I was comparing myself to all these people that were getting enrollments and I wasn't. And then I found myself scrolling on Instagram, comparing my social media to other people's social media. I mean, it was like a downward spiral. And so that was my main takeaway, was that, everyone's journey and timeline with this business is going to look different. And that's okay. I had to accept that. I had to just look in the mirror and be like, it's okay, Mia, God has a totally different story written for you. And that's okay because it's unique. And so some of the things that I wanted to go over that I know I struggle with comparing, and maybe some of you may too. So speaking of timeline and journey when it comes to this business, so you may or may not hit your VIPs once you start, right? You may hit them, you may not. I know I didn't, but don't let that stop you. And maybe this is something that you can pour into your team as well. Someone may get to a rank faster than you. That is what I really struggled with, because there would be people that signed up months after me, and they were just like milestones ahead of me. And I couldn't understand, like, what am I doing wrong? I felt like I was doing everything right. There were probably some things I probably could have tweaked. But I was like, why are these people like hitting all these milestones before I am if I've been here longer? Comparison there. But don't let that stop you. Someone may hit a rank faster than you, but that doesn't mean it's your time to give up. Your posts may look different than someone else's on Facebook. Your feed may look different. And that's okay. It's your story. It's your race, like my mom was talking about. Your story and your background may look different. How you grew up may look different. And that's okay. I think it's really easy to look at everyone else's social media posts and their stories and what they're highlighting and compare that to your story. And that's not okay, because your story is unique. And believe it or not, someone out there can relate to you. It just takes you opening up about that story for someone to really be able to reach out to you and be like, hey, I really needed to see that post. Thank you for being vulnerable about it. That's just one way that comparison can really try and trick you. And lastly, your paycheck may look different than your upline or your downline or your side sisters. Don't let that stop you. All those things that I just listed, it's just that comparison game. It's just that trick from the enemy trying to get in your head and lie to you that you're not good enough for this industry, but you're here for a reason. So don't let those things stop you. I could have listed hundreds of things, but I didn't want to keep you on here until tomorrow. So I just listed those. Don't let that stop you. And I would be lying if I said that I have conquered comparison, because that is not true. Especially in the last month or so, I feel like it's a daily battle. Comparison. It just takes, realizing that it is comparison and that it's a lie, and throwing it out the window, and, keeping your blinders on and working toward why you started in the first place. And that leads me into saying, in those times of, where you're wanting to give up because comparison thoughts are just clouding your judgment and you're just ready to throw in the towel, like I was in Oklahoma, when you find yourself in those times, think about why you started in the first place. Because that's what my mom helped me realize, like when we were taking that walk, that's one of the things I realized is, okay, I started this for a reason. Am I really going to let me not getting enrollments for a Louis bag keep me from financially wanting to support my family in the future? I had to go back to why I started to get all that comparison out of my head. So when you're in that place, when you're just ready to text your upline and be like, I'm done, I don't want to do this anymore. First, I want you to think about why you started in the first place, and just realize that giving up isn't going to get you any closer to your initial why. So I think I have two more things that I'll leave y'all with. So something that I've been implementing into my team, maybe you already do this, or maybe you don't, and maybe it's something you can start using. I actually had a girl reach out to me the other day that was interested in promoting. And so I was going through with her, the starting process and all that good stuff. But before I even put her name into the system or anything like that, I had her write down her why she even wanted to start this. I made her write it down on a piece of paper. And I told her, I was like, I want you to write this down so that in the future, when things get hard, you have that piece of paper to look back on. And you remember why you started all of this in the first place. I know that's what gets me back to where I need to be mentally. When I get in those ruts of comparison and all that junk, is remembering why I started in the first place, remembering the goal that I have, that if I decide to give up, then I'm letting go of all the opportunities that are there for my future family. So yeah, I encourage you to do the same thing. Write down your why, put it somewhere where you can see it every single day, so that when giving up crosses your mind, you look at that why and you're like, heck no, I'm not giving up. I'm not listening to stupid lies of the enemy, and I'm going to keep going, because I promise you, your hard work is going to pay off. You just got to keep going, because your journey is going to look different than anyone else's. And the last thing I'm going to leave you with is a Bible verse, and then I'll pass it off to my mom. So if you want to go back and like highlight this in your Bible or whatever, it's Psalm 139, verse 14. And the psalmist is saying, I praise you, talking to God. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well. So I know you probably see that on Pinterest or people's bios, like, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, like cute little quote. But no, that's the real deal. That's God's word. And God's word is true. So look at that verse, let it sink in, and accept it. Declare it, that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. And that means that you're unique and there's no need for comparison. So that's all I have. I'm going to give it back to my mom if she's done sneezing now.
Hi, good job, Mia. That was good stuff. So I think I just ripped my charger. Anyways, so yeah, I know that comparison can sit there and tell us that we are not equipped for what we are set out to do. But if we could stand our ground in what our beliefs are in, that God gives us everything we could possibly need in order to fulfill the purpose that He created us for. We don't have to think just because I don't have as much as she does, or I don't have what they do, that I can't fulfill my purpose. And so I know that my purpose personally with Thrive, and I think I've said it before, but I know God did not create me to be a network marketer, but He did create me and gave me my story so that I could share it with the world. And what easier and most efficient way to share it with the world is through social media, and then to be able to create relationships and friendships with people that we could have never even met otherwise, is unreal. And we get to earn an income while we do it. So man, I don't know, it's where we're at We have a very influential position where we are. And if we would just take advantage of it and be ourselves instead of trying to be like somebody else, because if we're trying to be like somebody else, it's not going to be genuine. It's not going to sound genuine. It's not going to be relatable. Just be yourself. Don't try to be something that you're not. Just really embrace who you are and be thankful for what you have right in front of you. I feel like if we're not thankful for what we have right in front of us, then we're not going to be able to, you know, we're not going to be available for the blessings that are to come for that gratitude. So we're not going to keep you too long. I'm going to let you off here. I don't know if Courtney has anything to say with her beautiful lips. But
a couple of things to say, Jen and Mia. I love you ladies so much. That was so good. I took some notes. So one song that comes to my mind, and I know Brittany Lee plays this a lot, and I used to play this on repeat, was, I don't even know the name of the song, so if someone knows the name of it, but it's Fight a Little Longer, My Friend. And that song, like, just, man, I used to just put that on repeat because I knew if I could just hang on a little bit longer whenever I felt like things just weren't working out for me, because yes, that one, Katie. I know you see the person you're comparing yourself to as like this person that has made it, or this person that has what you want, but you are literally seeing them when they are winning and not what it took to get there. And so, like, hang on and just keep going and just keep fighting for what you want, not against what you want. I mean, I just am taking all of these notes. Like, I wanted to quit. I've compared myself far too many times than I even want to acknowledge. Comparison can take you out of the lead. And here's what I mean by that. When you start to compare yourself, like Jen and me are saying, it takes you out of the lead. And I don't mean out of a position. It takes you out, and I like first, second, third. Okay. I don't mean it like that. I mean, it takes you out of an influential position. It takes you out of being in front of the people that you are supposed to be in front of, because it's robbing you of your joy. It's robbing you of your purpose. Mia walked away from that weekend, and if she would not have taken that walk with Jen and turned around her mood, I know for a fact I have Janie that lives with me that was so influenced by Mia that weekend, and Mia probably doesn't even know to what extent. And I just feel like whenever we compare ourselves, we take ourselves out of like the leading role of our life, of why God made us, of who we're supposed to inspire, who we're supposed to impact, just like you ladies said. We can't compare ourselves to others, but we have such an impact on others. It's like this crazy thing. I can't compare myself to Jen and still have an impact on Mia. Because if I was so caught up in comparing myself to Jen, I wouldn't be able to walk in my truth. And so if we want to carry ourselves that way, we must view others that way. We have to let other people influence us instead of threaten us. Somebody's timeline is never visible. Someone's timeline is never visible. You may think you know. You may ask Mia and you may ask Jen, well, what day did you sign up and what day did you hit your auto bonus? But you have no idea what it looks like when Jen was 10 years old, 12 years old, going through these comparisons with her sister. You don't know. That's not quantified whenever you are looking at someone's timeline. You will never be able to quantify someone's timeline. So comparison, it's silly. Like Mia was saying, it's like comparing the sun and the moon. They have different jobs, completely different jobs. And I know that's like a cheesy Pinterest quote too, but it's so true. You were made for exactly what you were made for. Like, imagine if Mia and Jen measured their personal success with each other's rulers. Like, one's the mom. Like, it would just make no sense. So thank you for being vulnerable. Jen, you're not too old, sister. Like, how much influence do you have on people that Mia could never have influence on? And impact on people that think, oh, well, Mia's fresh. She hasn't effed up, as much as I have. Like, you can connect with people that Mia could never connect with, and Mia can connect with people that I could never connect with. And that's just a domino effect when we all walk in our greatness. So I love you too. Like, I want to be in your family. I love y'all. There's so much love and so much joy. And thank you for sharing your hearts tonight, guys. Thank you. I love this team so much. It's such a safe place to grow, and I'm glad that you are all here. You guys have a wonderful week and a happy December. I know we're not done with this month yet, but I know the next time we see each other on a huddle, it'll be December, the last month of the year. Holy guacamole. I'm like so excited. But y'all have a great Sunday. Thank you, ladies. Love you, girls. Bye.